Hey.
Where are we going?
Outside for the first time with the bunnies.
Hi, welcome to my house of tiny pets. My name is Ellen. Today we're going to do a quick video on how to safely take your rabbits outside. We did this for the first time with our bunnies right before we moved out of our apartment and into our house. Speaking of which, don't forget to subscribe and you will be notified when our new videos come out of our new mini-series on how to move with your bunnies and how to move with hamsters. So let's get to our video for today, and I'll show you all the things you need to look out for when taking your bunnies outside and also how cute they can look. At first they were very skeptical of the wind and the sounds that they weren't familiar with being outside. Jake just scattered in some pellets into the leaves so they could go through and hunt for those as something to do and something to encourage them to get out of the carrier and explore a little bit more than they normally would. Wendi is my much more cautious girl. Dipper is my bolder, more adventurous guy. And I was very surprised, came out quite a few times, but Dipper is my main explorer, as you'll see in the video. Wendi came out a few times and checked things out, and she did hop around the X-Pin, but Dipper was climbing all over and wanted to get out, wanted to see what was under the leaves. He was actually pretty bold for a little bunny that had never been outside before. Several things that we had to think about before taking the bunnies outside. One of them is pesticides and weed killers. Those can be really toxic to bunnies if they're in them, if they eat the grass that has those chemicals on them. So we made sure, well, it was our yard, so we know there were no pesticides or weed killers used out there. A second thing to think about is predators. Thankfully, we don't have any really big predators. We live in a suburb, so nothing too dangerous out there, but even just dogs barking in a fenced-in area next door can really scare your bunny. Thankfully we don't have that. We did look out for birds of prey, like large hawks or falcons or something like that, because I have heard horror stories of people that took their bunnies outside and were with their bunnies, but a large bird came and swooped down and took their bunny away. So we were really cautious about that and made sure there were no large birds lurking around while we took the bunnies out. Another thing to think about is whether there are extreme temperatures right then. Thankfully we picked a really pretty day. It was probably between 50 and 60 degrees Fahrenheit outside and overcast, so the sun just popped out a couple times. But bunnies get heat stroke really easily and they get cold really easily. So we made sure it was a nice day outside and didn't have any issues with overheating. And we did have the carrier outside too in case they wanted to get out of the sun whenever the sun did pop out. Another thing to think about is whether or not there are poisonous plants in the area you're taking the bunnies. We just had grass and clover, no buttercups or anything that are harmful for bunnies to eat or be around. And then we checked them for bugs when we came back in, just to make sure they didn't have any ticks or anything crawling around in them. And I did take advantage of this moment to take some really pretty pictures, really cute pictures of the bunnies. I'm going to share them throughout the video. You've seen some already. But the fall leaves looked really great with those bunnies and they were really enjoying it. Dipper was really curious about those crunchy leaves and he had to figure out where the pellets were and what was going on with the wind. Another thing to consider whenever you take bunnies out is an X-pin or a rabbit run. Some people have specific runs for their rabbits set up. We don't have anything that is permanent set up outside, so we just brought their X-pin out. But I've seen lots of people take bunnies out with no pin and they're just free roaming outside, and I don't know how they do it. I don't have that kind of bond with my rabbit where if something scary happened that startled them, they wouldn't just bolt off. So I made sure that we had a pin set up that was secure, and we made sure that they were set in there and weren't going anywhere. After probably half an hour of being outside with us, they both climbed in the carrier and didn't come out for a while, and we decided it was time to call it a day with them. So we packed up the carrier and took them inside and brought the X-pin back inside. And like I said, checked them all over for bugs, ticks, whatever, and they were perfectly fine. And that night they were really happy and were binkying and zooming all over again inside. So overall it was a great experience, and I highly recommend taking your bunny out when it is appropriate and you can supervise them properly and do it properly. So just keep in mind those things to look out for and things to consider before taking your bunny out, and I hope you guys have a great time doing it.